So welcome everyone. Today is Veterans Day, a very special holiday in our country's history for reflecting on our veterans. We also have our All Life Forms memorial service today. And I wanted to mention that memorial services are very common in Buddhism. After the funeral, when a loved one passes away, there's a series of memorials that are given to help keep in mind our loved ones that have influenced us in the past. And we usually read their homyo, their dharma name. And then every first Saturday of the month at 4:30, we have what's called Shotsuki Hoyo, and we read the names of all the loved ones that have passed away in that month. So just like we did for the pets, we start the service, we read all the names of all the members who've passed away, like say in the month of November or the month of December. And it's kind of sad. The list of names in the summer is a lot shorter than the list of names in December and January, because you realize more people die when winter comes. And after we read those names, we place them on the altar, just like I did today with the names of our pets. And so in the Buddhist tradition, we learn from our relatives and from all life forms around us. And I think it's very special that we give the same level of mindfulness towards our human influencers as we do with our pets. And we learn in our everyday lives from those relationships. And then next Sunday, and I think this is all by design, next Sunday, the 18th, is a special service, our Eitaikyo service. And that's when we honor those that have come before us that have helped propagate Buddhism to us. So, we have a lot of things going on where we stop and reflect and appreciate what we've received and what we can learn from Buddhist practice every day. So before we get started, I have a sponsor for today's Dharma talk. It's related. This is the new everydaybuddhist.org website for our online school. And we re-messaged it. We have a new name, a new theme. We're really emphasizing this idea that Buddhism is something that you practice in your everyday life, that your secular and your spiritual life become one. So if you look up or go to everydaybuddhist.org, you'll see this homepage. And then there's a little red rectangle here. You see it? Right there. If you press that button, it says Learn More, and it takes you to our Everyday Buddhist online school. And there's 3 gateways. There's Buddhist Basics, Everyday Practice, and Deeper Study. And all you have to do is register an email address and a password, and that's free of charge. And you can look around as much as you want, free of charge. And then, if we go back to that original page, if you scroll down a little bit here, this is who's coming on 11/18 next Sunday for our Eitaikyo service. It's Greg Creech, who's a counselor. He's written 2 books. He wrote the book Nikon, which is kind of a self-reflective practice of psychology or counseling. You reflect on what you've received and what you've done to deserve what you've received, and you reflect on maybe the friction you've caused in people's lives. And it leads to a deeper sense of gratitude. And then he's focusing now on this book, The Art of Taking Action. So this is kind of the flip side of how to take action in your life, how to not get stuck. If you're overwhelmed by choices or you're stressed, this helps set priorities and pick and do what's truly important in your life. And he says in here, like, it might be really important in your life to take a nap. So it's not like accomplishing things. So I usually, that's what I need to do. I need to take action. So when I go home, I'm going to take a lot of action napping. So if you click on this little Learn More button, It'll take you right to the homepage for this class. It's $10. So what we're doing with this class is you can take it in person next Sunday after the Ataikyo meal up in the BEC classroom for $10. So if you want to skip credit cards and checks and cash, you can just register online now. And then the other thing you can do is you can also rewatch and take the course online. So we'll be recording it, and we'll be getting all of his materials, and we'll post it online a week or so after next Sunday. And if you click on the online button for enroll, you get a little page like this where if you're already logged in, you can just pay or create an account, and you can pay through credit card or PayPal. And the $10 goes to cameras, video equipment, lighting, paying for our school. So what I wanted to do now is shift over to All Life Forms Memorial service today. Animals have always been a really important part in Buddhism, and they show up in a lot of stories. When you read the Buddhist texts, there's lots of animals. I didn't bring any examples with me, but there's also lots of monkeys because it's in India. So there's always monkeys getting in trouble doing something they're not supposed to do. And there's rules for the monks about how to treat the monkeys because they're always coming into the monastery and doing things they're not supposed to do. So this example here on the right is Prince Siddhartha. Before the Buddha became enlightened, he was Prince Siddhartha. This is his cousin, Devadatta, on the right. And he is always getting into trouble, and he's always a real rival with Siddhartha. He's jealous of Siddhartha. He tries to take over the Buddhist Sangha later in life. So he's one of the bad characters in our history. What happens is Devadatta shoots this swan with an arrow. But luckily he didn't kill it. And Siddhartha runs over and removes the arrow. And Devadatta said, "That's my bird, I shot it." And he said, "No, it's my bird now, I'm going to save it." And so Prince Siddhartha always had a deep awareness of animals and protected all things weaker than himself. And this is one of those examples. And then I really like this story. I think it's true because it's not completely complimentary and it's very touching. This is the Buddha's horse, Kanthaka, the white horse. And this is the Buddha renouncing his royal lineage of being a prince. So in the previous slide, he was Prince Siddhartha, but now he's becoming an ascetic. And he's giving up, this is his valet, his manservant, Channa. He's giving him all of his silk robes, his gold necklace, his gold earrings, and he's chopping off his hair and putting on saffron robes to become an ascetic and practice for 6 years from 29 to 35. And what makes the story kind of sad, and I can see it, well, I can see it, I don't know if you can see it, but Kanthaka is very sad. The horse's head is down. Kanthaka never recovers from this. The story is that when the Channa took Kanthaka back to the royal stalls, he never quite got over the fact that he never gets to see his master again. He never gets to see Prince Siddhartha again. And it really breaks his heart. And I've heard stories like this about dogs, about horses. And Kanthaka ends up dying maybe 2 or 3 years later, they say, of a broken heart. So they had a really deep bond. And when it was broken, it really, really tore Kanthaka apart. And then besides being lots of bad monkeys in the monasteries, there's also a lot of, I think, wild and drunk elephants. There's a lot of elephants in the sutras. And the story is that Devadatta found kind of a big, giant male bull elephant, got it drunk, like maybe fermented fruit, and he came charging to kill the Buddha. So Devadatta wanted to have the Buddha trampled by this wild elephant. And rather than killing the elephant because it had gone mad, the Buddha is able to tame the elephant and calm it down. And of course, the elephant becomes, a good friend of the Buddha's. So there's many, many stories like this in the Buddhist traditions where animals have a very high position. So I wanted to show you some of the animals in my life. This, I've mentioned her a lot. This is the great Madigan Turner. This is her most regal pose. This is her guarding the swimming pool. She likes to sit in the sun. She's a schnoodle. So the idea is that she gets the warm friendliness of a schnauzer, and she gets the intelligence of the poodle. But sometimes what you get is the yappiness of the schnauzer, and the kind of haughtiness of the poodle. So it's dangerous. But she's very warm. She's a lap dog. She does bark a lot. And she's the only dog I've ever met that when she's really naughty and you kind of bawl her out, she just wags her tail. She never takes any guilt. She never puts her tail down. She never looks guilty. She's always like, I don't know. You could yell at her as much as you want. It has absolutely no effect. And I think her thinking is that I'm a dog, and you knew what you were getting. You came to me. You bought me. You took me home. So, I mean, I think she thinks this is just what we do, and you shouldn't have brought me home. It's not her fault. It's my fault. So this is Maddie doing her morning gasho. She does this every morning. And then this is a turtle we have. He's kind of adopted this ceramic turtle. He's underneath. Linda always calls him Sid, and I didn't know why, but it's because his name is Siddhartha. I didn't know that. And Buddhism's been very good for him. He's really come out of his shell, because of Buddhism. And this is a true story. I didn't stage this. He goes to the Buddha for guidance. This is in my backyard. So he has a choice between Christianity and Buddhism, and it's up to him. That's St. Francis of Assisi on the right, and that's the Buddha on the left, and he always goes to the Buddha. He always goes to the Buddha. And I think what's going on is you see the Buddha's holding that little offering plate. We feed him corn on a little paper plate, and I think he thinks that corn is going to appear in that little plate the Buddha's holding. So it's very cute. And then I told you that I've been trying to protect weaker than myself. I've been trying to not kill spiders, and I'm not killing silverfish anymore. This spider was in the corner of our living room, and he was up high enough. He was up about 2 or 3 feet, maybe 2 feet, 3 feet. Maddie couldn't get to him. And I think I told you that for some reason Maddie loves to eat spiders. She loves them. It's like M&Ms to her or something. She loves spiders. So the spider was high enough up, or maybe Maddie never saw it. So Linda and I tried to do the right thing, and we didn't kill the spider. And also, I kind of use the spider as my surrogate. It kills all the bugs for me, so then I kind of feel moral and ethical, because it catches all the flies and all the bugs I don't like, eats them, and then I'm kind of innocent. So we left this spider in the corner of our living room to be compassionate and wise and have insight. But then this was really sad. The spider caught a cricket, and this is a cricket in the spider web. So you try to do the right thing. I like crickets better than spiders. I felt really bad. I mean, if I had maybe taken the spider outside, the cricket would be alive today. So life is complicated. I felt really guilty about this. And then the other thing I wanted to talk a bit about too is not just our pets, but also the amount of animals. This is maybe a Nikon reflecting on what we receive from animals. We have to take in food and nourishment to survive, but at the very least, we could at least appreciate it and be aware of what we're taking. And so this was in National Geographic. It's called Food for Thought. And I think it's it's a worldwide number of animals killed for food worldwide in 2009. So I think the numbers are greater now. And it's hard to find this information on the internet. I think we don't like to think about it. It's a lot. So for chickens, I keep thinking I have this number wrong, but the number of chickens killed per year for food was 52 billion chickens in 2009. So, if there's 6 billion people, I don't know, and we all eat 9 or 10 chickens on average. I eat way more chickens than that. I mean, this number would make sense. But, that's a massive amount of loss of life. Ducks, 2.6 billion ducks, 1.3 billion pigs, and 1.1 billion rabbits. And we have Thanksgiving coming up. I mean, Thanksgiving is a wipeout for turkeys. 633 million turkeys are eaten. And then I think these numbers go down because the animals are larger, but 518 million sheep, 398 goats, 293 million cows, 24 million water buffaloes, and I thought this was sad, 1.7 million camels. So it's very hard to not eat meat, but at least we could be aware. For instance, I drove to the Fresno temple a couple months ago, and there were all these cows on the road, on the 99 to get to Fresno. And then that night, I went to this restaurant. I think it was called the Yosemite Restaurant. It was a steakhouse. And I had the best steak I ever ate. But I felt really bad because it's very likely that, one of those cows that I saw on the way up, because everything is locally sourced, right? They have the best vegetables, the best meat in Fresno, but it's because it's locally sourced. And so it's very important, I think, that we are aware of what we're taking and what we need to survive. And in Buddhism, there's a profound sense of sorrow for what we need to sustain ourselves in life. I had a friend of mine at work that told me that's just how it is. Humans eat meat, and that's the way things are, and he didn't think any more about it. But I think in the Buddhist tradition, we really reflect on what it means and all the animals that give their lives so that we can survive. Those numbers are really, I think, quite startling. And a lot of times when we eat food, it doesn't look like animals, right? We live in the city, and you get these little chicken nuggets, right? It looks like little meatballs or something. It doesn't look anything like the animal it came from. So I'm not sure if I showed you this before, but there's a very famous koan that says, does a dog have Buddha nature? And this is a beagle, I think, in meditation pose. It was a Purina dog food commercial, but I really liked it. So, the answer to this is yes. All dogs, all animals have Buddha nature. But this is a little bit more meaningful. When it first was written in China, dogs weren't considered highly. I've heard in the Middle East sometimes they'll say, like, you dirty dog. Dogs were kind of thought of the way maybe we think of rats or silverfish. So the question was, does a silverfish have Buddha nature? Or does a rat have Buddha nature? And the answer is yes. All beings have Buddha nature. And it's very interesting, as Buddhism moved from India to China to Japan, sentient beings meant humans, people with a consciousness. But when it enters China, sentient beings becomes all living beings, all animals. And this is kind of the genesis for this koan. And then when this teaching comes to Japan, it generalizes even more to not just include animals, but to include plants, trees, grasses, mountains, rivers, and streams, so that all of life, even vegetarian life, is precious and sacred, and that when we take it in, we should take it with great respect and great humility and with much gratitude. So whenever we honor our pets, they're the lucky ones, I think, right? The rabbits that we take care of and the dogs we take care of are the lucky ones. All the animals on the farms, it's a necessity, but it's something we should really reflect on and appreciate just as much as we do when our pets pass away. Thank you very much. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amitabhus. Namandaus. Namandaus. Namandaus.